Hey guys, so I wanted to kind of talk to you just a little bit about what it's been like moving here to Chicago. Um, I moved here about September 16th or so, so like the middle of September, which was, 3, 4 months ago. But pretty much as soon as I moved here, I started visiting friends in Cincinnati and I started traveling to, a few other places. Like I went to New York City for the first time and back in October. And then I went again for a couple of weeks in early December. I kind of told myself, I know I just moved here, but I want to, this is like, I had some free time because I didn't have work lined up yet. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to be doing. So I'm like, I want to take advantage of this, right? Like, and my place wasn't fully set up. So it wasn't like very homey yet. It wasn't very inviting. So I kind of took advantage of that and spent more time kind of outside of Chicago. So I would really say that I moved here and like kind of stayed here really about a month ago. So pretty much the week before the new year, like right after Christmas is when I kind of like formally stayed put and stayed planted here in Chicago. And it's been like very cold. I don't know if you guys saw in like my walk earlier, but the lake is officially frozen over, and today is like the coldest day it's been so far. It's -6, but it feels, or I think it's -6 or -8, but it feels like -21. That's miserable. I literally just in my walk, I came back in and my face was burnt red from the cold, and I had 3 layers on, pants, shorts under these, and so I kind of feel a little bit sick just from that. And then I haven't been eating a lot the last couple of days, so I think the cold weather is getting to me a little bit, so I need to just make sure I'm taking care of my body. But moving here has been, like I said, probably one of the like best experiences I've ever had. I knew about a year and a half ago that I wanted to live here, right? So one of my friends about 2.5 years ago was the first time I ever left Missouri. It was the first time I ever got to visit Chicago. It was my first year of grad school, and I got to visit here in March for the first time. It was, I think, St. Patrick's Day, and so I got to enjoy that. They dye the river. I live right by the river. They dye that whole river green, and for St. Patrick's Day, it's a huge ceremony. It's such a special thing, but that was the first time I had ever gotten to be here, and I got to meet the friends that I have now. Actually, we weren't very close at first, and then pretty much I decided that as soon as I was finished with grad school, I wanted to move here. And so I decided that I was basically, again, back in January of last year, around that same time that everything happened, and my dad passed away, and that I knew that I wanted to get out of Missouri and move here. I started taking the train. I was doing a clinical in St. Louis, Missouri for my physical therapy schooling, and there is a train, the Amtrak, that takes you from St. Louis to Chicago. It's about like a 6-hour train ride, and so I was taking that pretty much every weekend for the last year. So every other weekend I would take the train up here, and then I would stay with friends and get to explore Chicago a little bit more, because I wanted to know for sure that it was a move that I felt, very comfortable with. And I felt like I wanted to have like a little bit of a foundation before I moved here. And that's exactly what I got to have. I got to be really close friends with the people, two of my friends that I actually moved right down the street from, here in Michigan Avenue. I live in Streeterville. It's like right in the thick of it. It's very touristy, but I wanted that. I knew that I didn't want to live in one of these neighborhoods. They're beautiful, like Lakeview, Lincoln Park, Ravenswood. They're all very beautiful and cute neighborhoods. But in my mind, I was like, I did not just leave Missouri to go spend my day in a neighborhood. I wanted the energy of the city, especially now when it's freezing cold, and there's not a lot of sun. There's not a lot of sun out here. So I was like, at least I'll get to have the beautiful city lights, and they kind of line it for all of the holidays. They decorate Michigan Avenue. And so as soon as it got cold, they started decorating for Christmas. So they put up all these Christmas trees, all these Christmas lights down the entire lane. And then every season they decorate it differently. And I love the view of the windows. I wanted to have as much light as possible. I wanted as much sun. I love that feeling and the energy that it brings. And then living in Michigan Avenue, a lot of people say that they don't like how touristy it is, because this is where like all the shops are. This is right by Navy Park, right by Navy Pier and Millennium Park and the Bean. But that is kind of like one of the things that drew me to it, right? It's so different from anything that I've ever seen. And I love seeing how, happy and energetic everybody is. As soon as I walk out my front door, it's just people from all over the country, all over the world. They're the biggest smiles on their face. It's like this is the first time they've ever seen anything like this. And that is basically the energy that I wanted to, start every single day with. Even now, I know it's freezing cold, but I still do walks every single day. And I walk to the gym. And so on those walks, it's like I wanted to, I don't know, something about the people here and something about the energy of the city just makes me really happy. And it's something that I knew that I wanted to be a part of. And so I found this, studio apartment. It's nothing luxurious. It's nothing crazy, but it has this big, beautiful window that has an incredible view of, I get the sunlight every day. I get to see these beautiful buildings, and my rooftop is incredible. It kind of wraps around the entire building. So you get to see every big building and every special building, like, Sears Tower, and just all the like architecturally designed buildings. I can see all of them from here. And so when it's not negative 21 degrees, I like to go up there and just kind of take that in, because it's nothing like I've ever seen it in my life. And hopefully someday I can show you, maybe I'll show you what it looks like at night, because it's absolutely beautiful to see the city lights. And again, that's another thing that I wanted, at night, because there's not a lot of sun. It gets dark right now around 4 or 5 p.m., which is extremely early. And I'm somebody that really needs daylight and light to feel happy. It kind of, the sun and the seasonal depression is something that is very real for me, but it's more of just because, like, I know that like what the sun does, and biologically it's very important for a lot of things, and it really does play a role into the endorphins and your happiness and vitamin D levels and all that stuff. But even just having the lights of the city at night and the Christmas decorations and everything like that is really beautiful to me, and it makes me just really happy. So that's why I decided that I wanted to live, downtown, just so I could kind of experience that every single day. And I love going on walks. It's something that I find, really helps me, which actually, really quick, I'm gonna introduce something that I want to do in every single one of these videos. I'm going to call it like the health tip of the day or health tip of the video or something like that. But this will be the first one. And that's going to be, if you didn't see my last video, I am a health and wellness life coach. It's something that I took on, and it became a passion of mine whenever, my dad and my family members passed away last year. I took it upon myself to read anything and everything I could about the body. And I wanted to make sure that I could fix anything that's going on, and from lifestyle habits, from, psychology and food and diet and sleep and exercise. And in doing that, I recognized a lot of overlap in kind of how you treat these things, and how like each one of them can improve your mental health and your physical health. And so it's become a really important passion of mine, and I've always wanted to teach. And so that's what I want to integrate into each and every one of these videos. I want to share a tip every single day, every single video that you guys can use starting now, and that can help you out a lot. And I'll share as much of the why behind it, as much of my experience with it as well. But the health tip of the day today is going to be the importance of going to get walking and exercise from walking. You know, what I give to my clients really first is telling them, honestly, if you don't do any other form of exercise, I at least try to get 30 minutes of walking in every single day. You know, even better, try to go for a 10-minute walk as soon as the sun comes up, because whenever you do that, the sun will signal. I'll try to simplify it, but the sun signals through your eyes and to the nerves of your eyes, for the visual nerves, and it tells your suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the fancy term, but again, I'll simplify it. It tells your brain that it's time to suppress the release of melatonin, which is, as we all know, melatonin, it gets produced at night, and all melatonin does is it initiates the process of sleep. It does not make you tired, but it just signals to the body that it's time to get ready for sleep. And then a whole cascading event of other things occurs. But when we go out and get a 10-minute walk first thing in the morning with the sun, it tells our brain that, hey, it's daytime, it's morning, we're awake. Let's stop producing melatonin and start producing adenosine. Let's start producing everything else that we need to wake our body up. And then that way, by the end of the day, you're ready for sleep again. And it just kind of keeps your body and your biological rhythm on track. So there's a huge benefit to going to get a walk as soon as the sun comes up, or at least within the first hour of waking up. So get 10 minutes of walking in there. And then I really encourage people to spreading your walking out throughout the day is really important. Just any activity throughout the day. Our bodies weren't designed to, sit still for, say you were somebody that has a desk job and you sit for 22 hours a day, and then you go and work super hard at the gym or kill your body at the gym for 2 hours. There's less benefit to that than there would be if you were to spread out that activity and do a little bit less activity, but just spread that activity out throughout the day. So it gets everything moving. It helps with your posture. It helps with blood flow. It helps get your heart rate up and all of that other stuff. It helps with digestion and everything. So I really encourage you to try to get a 10-minute walk in, like I said, first thing in the morning, and then just a 10-minute walk after lunch and a 10-minute walk after dinner or around dinner time. Because again, it helps with digestion. And another benefit of walking in modern day society, as you can see, we slouch, we sit a lot. And so it kind of gets us out of that. It's kind of an epidemic. Sitting is the new smoking. If you haven't heard that, sitting is really the new smoking, and it's damaging and killing us immensely. And it's something that's so common and so many people do it. And it's not necessarily your fault, right? It's kind of just how our jobs and how society works. And it just encourages comfort, but we kind of have to push ourselves into being uncomfortable. And if you start to do that, you kind of you'll be able to listen to your body, and you'll be able to recognize that actually this stuff that I thought was exhausting and I thought that was like an inconvenience made me feel so good that it's like I don't really want to go without that anymore. So again, I really encourage you, no matter what level of exercise and activity you are, no matter what physical level you're at, go get at least 10 to 15 minute walks in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And I promise you, you'll not only feel great, but you will probably lose an incredible amount of weight. It's very surprising what that amount, like activity throughout your day does for your body and initiates like the process that it initiates. So that is kind of my health tip of the day is, start off with a minimum of 30 minutes of walking a day, spread out throughout the day, and eventually try to work up to about 10,000 steps a day. That might seem like a lot, but being really intentional about what you do with your health and your lifestyle is incredibly important. And again, it's so beautiful once you start to treat your body in the correct ways, the signals that it sends, and it starts to really just improve your mood and your energy so much that you can kind of realize when you aren't doing it, like when you're no longer taking care of your body or treating it right, it sends like those signals of, hey, this doesn't feel good. You should go back to doing what you were doing, instead of you living in the constant, I call it, you're basically, your body right now is used to being abused. And so it's not going to send you a signal that it's hurting, because it needs to survive, right? Your body wants to survive. So it kind of has learned to mute that signal and just be like, well, I guess this is our new normal. So then once you start to treat it right, it actually will then start to signal correctly when something is going wrong. I hope that all makes sense. I'm sure that I'll talk about it again in another video, because that process that I just explained plays such a huge role in many aspects of your health. But yeah, again, to reiterate, health tip of the day, go get 30 minutes of walking in at a minimum, spread 3 times or multiple times throughout the day. Now back to living in Chicago. That was one of the big reasons of why I wanted to live downtown, is because not only is every bit of touristy thing and beautiful thing about Chicago kind of like right next door, but I love the energy and the ability to just go walk outside and see so many new people and so many new things, and just get to explore and navigate really the culture of Chicago. Like, downtown is everything you hear about, everything you talk about. And that's been probably one of my favorite and new changes, because back in Missouri, especially in my college town, there wasn't a lot to walk to. You know, it's around a college campus, you kind of find your spots. And my school was, the town itself is about 100,000 people, which is not too small, you know, but it was basically just, it's a very college sports town. And so there was just one main strip of like bars and shops. And so I kind of found these 2 coffee shops that I liked, and that was basically it. And I'd get up from studying and go walk the quad, and then I'd come right back. So as much as I enjoyed walking, I knew that I wanted to be somewhere that I could see different scenery and different, experiences. And then something else that I realized about myself was so if you have ADHD, changing scenery is something that's really beneficial. If you sit in one setting for too long, that's kind of when you can start to get, antsy. It's hard to sit still. It's hard to focus, because, your brain, it starts to affect your mood. It starts to dampen your mood, and you get like low energy, low focus, low mood, because your brain, with ADHD, your basal ganglia basically has a difficulty with switching back and forth. So you have 2 ways of processing information. It's taking in like the external stimuli, that's basically sounds, visual things like cars going by, people going by. That's how you take in information all day, every day. And then it's switching from that to everything you've already learned and everything that's in your brain, and kind of like inside conversations and like everything that you're thinking that you have already deeply ingrained. So that's how ADHD works, is it's less the idea of you can't really pay attention or focus, and more of just, it's really difficult for your brain switches back and forth between deeply processed information and external stimuli. A good example is if you're in the middle of a conversation, like if you are somebody that has ADHD, pay attention to this next time. If you're walking or having a conversation with a friend, you'll be listening to them and listening to their story, but then all of a sudden you switch back and you start thinking about whatever's going on in your own mind. And then you're like, oh, dang it, like I need to focus again back on this conversation, but you like missed bits and pieces of it, right? So that's really how ADHD works, is it's just your basal ganglia having difficulties staying in one place. But actually, a beautiful thing about it is people with ADHD have such an incredible ability to actually like attend to information and learn things and actually pay attention when they're on the task. It's just difficulty with staying on that task. But kind of over time, you can teach it. Just like cognitive behavioral therapy, if you've ever heard of that, it's kind of, you can teach it. and develop it to be able to focus. And that's something you can improve with, just constantly being mindful of when your brain has shifted from your current task to thinking about something else. So I encourage you, if you're somebody that struggles with ADHD, just to kind of be mindful of that idea and try to work on it. So that's why I've noticed that I need to be able to change scenery. I noticed that if I sit inside for too long, that I become like very kind of sad and low mood and low energy. And as soon as I do, maybe I go for a 10-minute walk and then I come back. Or I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna up and go to a new coffee shop. I know that not everybody has that luxury, but maybe if you're working at your desk or working at a job, see if your boss will let you go for just like a 5-minute, clear your head walk, or just walk around the office. Get up and walk around the office and go talk to a friend, and then go back down and focus, because just getting your mind off of, just changing what your mind is processing is going to help you with that same sort of thing. So again, that's what I've come to really appreciate about living here in Chicago and living where I do. And then another really incredible thing that I've noticed and loved about living in Chicago is the people. And that is something that when you're from a small town, the idea of seeing new people is just so mind-blowing. And they always talk about how dangerous it is. They always talk about how scary it is. And I can tell you firsthand, coming from a town of 350 people, a class of 10 in my high school, and probably interacting with maybe 50 to 75 people for 18 years until I graduated high school and went to college, that the people here in Chicago are incredible. Of course, yes, you do have, people that are not in the best headspaces, whether that's, maybe they're doing drugs, or maybe they're on the street and they have had a really difficult life, and, they act out and do stuff, but it's never directed at you. And I mean, as long as you're smart about it, like I'm not going to walk the sketchy streets of Chicago at midnight. I'm not, going up to people and provoking them or doing anything like that. It's just, if you're doing what you would do every single day, everywhere, and putting yourself in helpful or healthy situations, you have nothing in any way to worry about. And the people in Chicago are incredible. A lot of times they describe it as, it's still the Midwest, and Midwest culture is very polite, right? It's very, you have manners, like small talk is still a thing. You care about the people, you care about others, and it's not just about, how can I succeed off of this person, off of this interaction. It's, an attempt to develop friendships. It's, you still want to hear other people's stories, and it's still a very polite culture. And if you smile, they smile back. And if you're having a bad day and you kind of act like an asshole, then yes, you are going to be treated like an asshole. But I have never had anybody be obnoxious or rude that didn't have something, going on. Like, of course, I've had really weird interactions on the subway, but that's just gonna happen. And you just kind of keep your head down, you listen to your music, or you just talk to your friend, and you're fine. But it's been absolutely incredible to get to meet the people here in Chicago and see how, kind and beautiful it is. And again, I love living where I do because I love seeing how energetic and happy and smiley everybody is, and all the tourists are here, because it really just kind of puts everything into perspective every single day, that holy shit, like I live in a place that these people, have dreamed of visiting, that they got to visit. And it reminds me, I've only been here 3 or 4 months, but I don't ever want to forget that is an opportunity that I have that I do not want to take for granted. So I've absolutely loved Chicago. The cold is scary. To be honest, that's the only scary part about Chicago. And being from Missouri, you know, it's still freezing cold, and it's basically just like 5 degrees less cold, probably more like 10 to 15 because the wind that blows off the lake is insane. But it's as long as you dress up and, you know, you wear your appropriate winter attire, then you're fine, and it's actually extremely enjoyable, and it's part of it. It's part of Chicago is being cold, and it makes you appreciate the summers so much because there is nothing like the summers in Chicago. And if you ask anybody from here, they will say that. And I intentionally kind of moved here after the summer. One, I wasn't done with school yet, but I was kind of happy that I didn't, because I want to have my feet here and my groundwork and my friends and everything figured out. And then I'll get to enjoy the wild, energetic fun of Chicago in the summer. But that's been kind of my experience so far with Chicago. And I've been really, really loving it. I'm excited to get to, you know, explore it more. Like I said, I've really only been here 3 or 4 weeks. I haven't gotten to do a lot of the art stuff here. I haven't gotten to see very many shows. I've really just kind of found my favorite coffee shops, my favorite bookstores, and, you know, a few of my favorite spots to eat and socialize and be with friends. So I'm really, really excited to explore more. And once it warms up, I'll do a little bit better job of getting outside and going to show you guys a little bit more as well. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.